Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Catering Insight and Foodservice Equipment Journal's Market Talk. Joining myself, Claire Nichols, and Andrew Seymour today, we have Mark Drayton, who is the MD of dealer Caterware, and also Peter McAllister, who is the MD of manufacturer Falcon Foodservice Equipment. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'd just like to say, Peter, it's probably a good idea you didn't let Lawrence Hughes appear on this video, or we'd had a half an hour chat regarding Manchester City, with the odd cooker and COVID thrown in for good reference, probably.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to talk about football for half an hour.
No one needs that. No one needs that. But anyway, I'll start off, Mark. So I know that Caterware has been managing to kind of keep some operations going throughout the lockdown, and you've also been doing some project work as well. So could you just tell me about what kind of capacity you've been working at and what kind of projects you've been doing?
I'd say from a staff perspective, we're probably about 80% of us back now, probably still 20% on furlough. Like most people, I think, when all this hit, we saw it as three sections. You know, there was a first section which is sort of bolt everything down. Don't spend anything that you don't need to, cancel any sort of non-core expenditure and building repairs and anything you look at. Unfortunately, that including marketing, etc. But a lot of those things were cancelled for us because events just never took place. So it was bolt down and try and analyse where the future was going to be. I think we looked at worst case scenario and hope for the best. We literally based everything on literally nothing going out the door, hardly any invoicing. Looked at our funds and our finances, predicted where we might be by the end of the year. Then tried to analyse what funds we might need, doubled it, went to the bank and got a yes. So, you know, that meant that at least we knew we were going to be here for another 12 months, even if we didn't take an order. Then it was just a matter of concentrating on losing a small fortune rather than a large one. We then knew it would go into Section 2 because, you know, we did start this with an excellent order book. Everything was looking rosy. We didn't expect any of this to happen, and all of a sudden everything fell off a cliff. But those orders weren't cancelled; they were just delayed. So we thought Section 2 would be a period where those orders start to filter back into the system, and the orders that were cancelled come online. And hopefully we would start to get back all the money that we'd lost in Section 1. After that, we will then go into Section 3, which is maybe something we go into later, which is the aftermath. And that's probably the most scary of all. So I'd say at this moment in time, we're probably we've probably come through Section 1. I think we've lost the least amount that we possibly could, given the circumstances. With worst case scenario didn't really come in. We did start to develop more business. We started to get on sites where we didn't think we would. You know, construction seems to have come back. We've had slight instances where it's not all been bad. You know, I could think of one customer with a very large hotel that we've been talking about for 4 years about redoing the kitchen. They were always too busy and it just got shelved and shelved and shelved. Well, all of a sudden they've now decided to close that hotel for 12 months, and at the end of this year it's going to have a nice brand new shiny kitchen and they're going to spend 20 million quid refurbishing the whole place. So, you know, that probably wouldn't have happened. There are also one or two brave individuals out there that are saying, look, you know, we're building a business to last for 25 years, not for 25 months or 25 weeks. And we're not going to be put off by that. So we're just going to drive ahead. And it's made things easier. Another project we're doing in central Manchester, where surrounding there was hotels that had to close there were other restaurants that had to close because they were all in the same building. Well, the hotel's closed now and the restaurant's closed now. So the clients just said, well, let's just carry on, because the centre of town is quite busy. The store that we're working in was one of the few of theirs that weren't doing stupid numbers and trade. It had gone a bit quiet because it was a town centre site and nobody was in the town centres. So again, they're using that as an excuse to sort of crack on. So whilst I say we catered for worst scenario, thankfully we haven't had worst scenario.
Well, that's good. Excellent stuff. Likewise, Peter, for Falcon, I believe that you're now starting to bring people back from furlough as well. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of moved quite quickly when the announcement happened, the Prime Minister's announcement on the 23rd evening, the Monday the 23rd. We got the factory together and effectively closed the lion's share of our manufacturing that morning. What we've done though is we've always kept a skeleton staff. So we've always had maybe sort of between 10 and 15% of people here. We've always had capability in manufacturing, cutting metal, welding. And I think the team that I've had here have just done a phenomenal job, because they're doing, you know, they're a welder one day, they're a packer the next day, they're doing a conversion from feet to casters the other day. You know, my sales team, you know, Lawrence and the guys have really done a great job at staying in touch with everybody in the industry. So I actually feel, you know, as a business, we've kind of, a bit like Mark said, nobody could have seen this coming. Sometimes I look back in hindsight and say, maybe we could have, but I don't think we could have really have seen it coming. And I think we've just all we've done since then is reacted really well. More recently, the market has really picked up for us. Yesterday, we've had our best sales day since March. And a bit like Mark said, our financial quarter, we were at our half year in February and we were just ahead of target, and we were feeling pretty good about that as we rolled into March. And guess what? We're not going to make our target for quarter three now. But I think we've, as I say, the team have been really flexible. We started to bring people back as the market started to open up. Really with a focus on design and technology. So we, as I say, we've always had that small capability, but we've recently unfurled our full design and new product development department, and we've got them all in working in new products. We purchased a new machine that arrived just at the start of this. We bought an Amada auto tool brake press. It arrived. We've got the engineers in there commissioning that just now, doing training in that just now. So in the factory this morning, it really is great to actually, I was over at our development kitchen this morning. You can hear metal getting cut, you know, the welders are going, the testers and the assemblers are going, and it's just such a great feeling to just, I mean, I've worked in manufacturing all my life, and just the smell and sound of people making stuff, it's just great to hear it went back again.
Peter, I know when we spoke about a year ago, you had quite a elaborate product development plan in place and a roadmap for what that might look like. Are you still trying to maintain that, or have you had to really review it and kind of change those plans?
You know, strategy is a great thing, and we had a bit of a strategy on developing new products and expanding into slightly different markets. And sometimes you rethink your strategy when there's you know, a global pandemic or an event that makes you rethink everything. But actually, that strategy couldn't be more true. And we had a number of products that were just about ready to launch, and a number of different things that were just about ready, and we've slightly eased off in that, because there's no point in launching to a market where nobody is actually able to purchase that at the moment. So we slowed down the launch a little bit, but not the design and the development. What we've actually done is, within the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks, we've come up with, you know, various new products. We've got prototypes in production just now, so we've actually accelerated really, really quickly the development of many new products. We haven't slowed it down at all, Andrew.
Okay. And from a customer perspective, you know, Falcon's renowned for a very strong heritage in the public sector, particularly, but also in, you know, on the pub side and restaurants too. Do you think that diversity of customer base has been a benefit during this period, or has it created more challenges?
No, I think Falcon are a brand that I believe that the industry looks to as somebody that is reliable. We've been here for 201 years, and in many times in that period we've changed what we did. We made munitions during war times, so we have that sort of history of being that reliable brand that people can trust. We do have a strong history in the public sector. Her Majesty's prisons have still been ordering regularly. We've still been getting orders for care homes and hospitals, although the orders for the our brewery hospitality sector is pretty much dried up. So I think, I don't know if Mark thinks the same thing, but normally our order book fluctuates a little bit. But now our order book, you go, wow, that's brilliant. Monday's been the best day we've had in ages. And then Tuesday is and then up, down, up, down. So there's been a lot of fluctuation. So it makes it hard to be flexible and reactive. But I think we've done really well in terms of how we've handled that.
I think our order book is good. It's where we're all suffering at the moment. It's cash flow, because there's very little going out the door. But order book was good before this started, and since it started, our order book has got even better. We've got orders now going into 2021 and negotiating orders for 2022. And I think that is part of the problem, because even though we've got nothing going out, we've got all the expenses still to pay.
Yeah.
We couldn't release so many staff because we've got plenty of inquiries going through the books. The majority of our clients, they have exterior consultants like architects and M&E consultants and cost consultants and planners, and they're all working from home full time, working on these projects. They expect us to be here. Now, we can't slow down that process by saying, I'm sorry, we've got everyone on furlough. So, we've had to bring that situation to the front, and we haven't been able to get rid of as many people on furlough as perhaps the finances would have dictated we have.
How have you been managing that cash flow then, Mark? How have you tried to maintain that?
Well, fortunately, we've always been fairly strong, and we've always had a fairly strong balance sheet. We're probably one of those daft companies that left money in the business over the years rather than try and take it out, and in that way we're old-fashioned.
This is the rainy day that was there for, right?
So we have a few quid to sit back on. You don't want to lose it, but at least it's there. We also are the old-fashioned type where we own our own buildings. We own the premises that we live in. So, as a result, we're showing nearly £2 million worth of assets on our balance sheet. So we assessed the situation. We thought, right, when's our money going to run out? And what do we need? We anticipated what we need, and we doubled it, and literally went to our bankers and said, we'd prefer an increased overdraft facility rather than a direct loan. Mm-hmm. Because at least that only comes into play when we use it. And can we have one of these cheap COVID type loans, etc.? So it's annoyingly they came back and said, well, yeah, you can have the money, but it won't be a COVID loan, because apparently we were considered capable of going out into the market and getting those facilities in normal circumstances, where apparently the COVID loans were for those that weren't able to go out into the market. But it was favourable rates. So far we haven't used it. To a point, I hope we do, because that means that we're funding an order book. It's at cheap rates. It's at rates that we probably never believed it would be. So we've nailed our mast, and we will be here for the recovery. And we'll probably be working for 2-3 years to get back what we've lost. But c'est la vie, I think an important point that Peter made, he mentioned this is no one's fault. And I think that is a very, very important point. There are people beating themselves up about this, and they shouldn't be. Because where previously, if business has been bad or we'd had some bad hits, you can always blame the decision. There was always something we'd done wrong. We'd made bad decisions somewhere along the line, whether it is given credit to companies we shouldn't have done and left with bad debts, whether it was over-investing in a market that was on that was in the reverse, whether it was investing and maybe not properly executing that investment. Things got bad because we'd made bad decisions. Now we're just in a situation where everything was going swimmingly, and then evidently some guy in China had a bat, and our whole world changed. You know, and that's essentially what happened. We couldn't have done anything about this. And those that maybe are getting down on themselves should start thinking, hold on, you built the business to where it was. This came along. It's not your fault. And therefore you've still got the abilities when all this ends. Just hang on in there. Because if you've done it once, you can certainly do it again.
Yeah,
do you not think, Mark, it's a great thing about the industry we're in is, you know, I talk to customers, I talk to suppliers, I talk to competitors. You know, we have an industry that actually tends to reach out and look after each other as best we can.
Yeah, I think that's because we all know each other so well. I think it's social as well as commercial.
Yeah,
we ring up people to ask how they are, and we really do care how they are. You know, and so the conversation starts with what's happening in your families, and then it goes into business, and then at times maybe we have to take the attitude, hey, it's only money. Yeah, and I know we're all in business, and that's what it generates around. But I think the reason we do help each other out is because socially we've all grown up together.
Yeah, that is really lovely. Just in terms of kind of getting the hospitality industry back on its feet, I know there's been quite a lot of debate on whether it should be 1 metre or 2 metre social distancing in terms of front and back of house. So where do you kind of land on that side of the debate, Mark?
I don't know. It's down to numbers, doesn't it? You know, I think at first it was all about protecting the national health. You know, the slogan sort of "Stay at home, save lives, protect the national health." I think protect the national health was the only thing. So therefore, the government took a decision to sort of get everyone at home and close everything down. Then I think they've gone into a situation where they're going to run out of money and they can't afford what's going on. So I think it's a question of get everyone back and encourage people to go back to work. And I think we get fed an agenda that when it all evolved, it probably wasn't as bad as it was portrayed to be. And now it's probably not as good and safe as they're portraying it to be. but the government need to get us back to work, or they're going to go under and we won't have any National Health Service and we won't have any schools. And, you know, the lovely nurses and doctors and everyone else will have to go to work with no wages because nobody can pay them. So I think it's a question of we have to develop ways of getting people back, and it's a numbers game. You know, it's 1,000 people dying was far too many. Is it 100 people? I don't know. You know, I suppose you could say under 100 people, it's worth it to keep the economy going. But if that was one of your family and relatives, you wouldn't agree with that. So it's, you know, it's where do you draw the line? We have to somehow get restaurants back to work, because an environment where everyone stays at home and invites up to 4 friends around for a garden party isn't doing the hospitality any good whatsoever. And that's got to be an objective, whether it can be done within 2 metre distancing, whether it can be 1 metre distancing. I'm not a medic. I don't really know. I think somebody has to make a decision that you've got to gamble somewhere down the line and weigh up the pros and cons.
Yeah, I saw a great article which I would summarise in saying 2 metre social distancing, your average pub or restaurant can get to 30% capacity. Drop it down to a metre, they can get to 70% capacity. And that's the point where they're breaking even, they're spending money, and then the industry really starts to open up again. I'm not a public health expert. I wouldn't want to lobby for any changes in it. It really is up to the medical advice to tell us what it is. But from a personal standpoint, I really hope they change it. I hope they change it to a meter, and I hope a meter is safe and that there's not an additional risk there, because it allows the industry to open back up again. It allows me to get a pint on a Friday night again, which is something I'm looking for.
And the problems are still yet to come in that sector. That where we look at stage 3, which is where this is evidently all over. We're all trying to get businesses back to a level, and we're all trying to do that in what we're all being told is going to be the biggest recession that the world's ever seen, and we're having to cope with that and get businesses back. I think when the furlough scheme ends and people have to start paying back some of those loans that they've taken out, that's when the crunch is going to hit. Not necessarily now, because if you look at the big restaurant groups, they've got 90% of their staff furloughed, and that probably means 90% of their salaries coming back, because the ones that furloughed were earning under £2,500 a month, whereas we all know with our businesses we might have furloughed people, but £2,500 a month when you're talking about equipment, catering equipment engineers and salespeople and middle and senior management is no way 80% of their salary, and we've still been paying people full. I think when the furlough scheme ends, I think that's when the problems are going to really hit.
Sure, yeah. Peter, just coming back to you for a second and changing the sort of nature of the conversation slightly. I know that last week you reopened your development kitchen up in Scotland, and that's sort of been a hive of activity for you over the years, a place where your team can show potential customers and existing customers new equipments and concepts and so on. Obviously, it's going to be some time before people are moving and travelling again. Are you having to alter the way that that kitchen works and operates, bringing in technology to try and engage with customers remotely?
Yeah, totally. I think I'm trying to remember when you were last up in Stirling, Andrew, and you were in the development kitchen. This is our new version of that, is sitting chatting on the internet. So it's great to have Sean back. He literally is the one of the best guys we have. He's a lovely guy. It helped me put on a bit of weight again now that he's back in there. He's back. Great to have him back in the kitchen. But yes, we have all of the tools to do training and live feeds from the kitchen. We're probably looking at investing a little bit more in that, just to up the level a wee bit, as we expect less customers to be visiting here. So therefore, the need to do more webinars, more training, more online demos, more customer support through online platforms.
And Mark, does that apply to you as well as a distributor business? Are you having to accept the fact you're possibly needing to use technology to train people, to engage with your customers and so on?
Yeah, we're having site meetings now by video conference. We spend half our day on video conference and anything from 10 to 15 meetings, and people sat at those meetings, up to a dozen people at a time. That normally 12 of us would have driven to one place all in separate cars, taking 3 hours to get there, had a sort of 2-hour meeting, and then taking 2 hours to get back. So there are certain benefits to that. Again, that worst case scenario, I know for a fact that our travelling costs, hotel bills and petrol bills have gone to next to nothing, and it staggered me to see how high they'd actually become, because I've never really looked. But now you have time to look at the figures and you realise there's phenomenal savings in that respect. What it cost us to attend meetings, stay overnight, travel, it was a phenomenal cost, really. So that's dropped off. So yeah, we're managing to do that, and at first most of our staff were working from home, and a lot seemed quite happy working from home. Well, I think it depended on whether they had young children. If they had young children, then they probably wanted to get out of home. If they didn't, then they were quite happy to stay there. As much as I see the benefits to that, at the beginning I thought, yeah, this is great. Why do we need premises that are so big? And why weren't we doing this ages ago? But the longer it goes on, I think I do realise that, you mentioned training, that's a big aspect. You can do training on video, but I'd say the majority of training people here get is being around 20, 30 people every day that have been in the industry for donkey's years together, and what they're learning every day in informal training. So while they're working from home, nobody's training them. No, they're not hearing conversations. They're not seeing incidents develop, how we solve them, how we get to certain areas. So yeah, I'm probably not as much of a fan as I was at the start of all this. As you can see, we can social distance in this building, so I decided to come into the office because that works for me. I don't think I'd be a very good stay-at-home person. I think I'd start the right way, and then I'd probably ended up watching Ice Road Truckers while I had a cup of tea.
Oh dear. Well, I think we've just about run out of time now, guys, but thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this latest episode and tune in for another Market Talk soon.